Chiefs Kingdom, your Kansas City Chiefs are going back to their 5th AFC Championship game consecutively on the backs of one Terminator Patrick Mahomes. We had the game last year that was the Reaper. This is the Terminator game. I'm calling it right now. Matt's shaking his head, so I'm not getting overwhelmed there. I like that. Matt Derrick's live with us here from Arrowhead. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. You always need to hire good people, even if it's at backup quarterback, and LinkedIn Jobs can help you with that. We are brought to you tonight by them. Find all the candidates you want to talk to, hire, and do it faster and easier for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. We are here. It's post-game. The Chiefs are going back. Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest is here. I'm Ryan Tracy from Locked On Chiefs, Locked On NFL Draft, RGR Football, Rogue Analytics, and NFL 33. I got it all. Here, there we go. How are you doing?
There you go. Finally got it all out. A little bit of a mouthful to talk about. I'm Chris Clark. Thank you for listening. If you have not already, please go hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell on YouTube. We would appreciate that, as well as iTunes reviews and Spotify. He is Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest. There's so much to dive into in this game, but I think everybody has the same question. First off, Matt, is there any update on Mahomes and his ankle?
Yeah, at this point, we know it's an ankle injury. Don't really know the full extent of it, about whether you classify it as a high ankle sprain or not. Obviously, it's something that it's affecting him, and if it ends up being in that category, it would not surprise me at all. It was hurting him. I mean, there was absolutely no doubt about it. The Andy Reid said that, and Patrick Mahomes confirmed that they were not going to let him go back into the game until he went back to go get X-rays. Patrick wanted to wait until halftime, but Andy said, nope, that's not going to happen, which was explained why he took off. They were able to get those done in 8 minutes, and Mahomes was back out on the field at least to watch the last half of that Henny drive. But, it's wait and see mode. I mean, Andy did say that Patrick was on a very short leash when he went back into the game as far as what risk they wanted him taking and how much they wanted him exposed. Certainly the chance was, taking him out again if he was going to be taking any hits and was getting in any danger. And as far as, next week goes, I mean, he wants to see how Patrick is going to feel the next few days. Great that the Chiefs have an extra day of rest before the Sunday game. But as we all know, and Ryan, you know it better than anybody, I mean, it's the day after when you start feeling these injuries, and that's probably going to be until Monday till we really know the extent of, how Mahomes is feeling.
Yeah. That extra day is huge. Sorry, that's all I was going to say, Ryan.
It's absolutely going to be enormous. And I am one, after watching the way that he maneuvered on the field, I'm okay if Patrick doesn't practice at all this week. I know he won't be, but I think caution is the name of the game here. We don't know who the opponent is yet. We'll find that out tomorrow night. But either way, I'm glad, A, that they made him go get the X-ray. B, that Patrick was adamant about not doing that and wanting back in the game. I think the thing that we miss here in all the forever joy and light that should be showered on Chad Henne, we'll talk about him in a bit, it is that competitive spirit, is the never say die attitude of this particular quarterback that I think feeds this entire team. I felt the defense stepped up after he went out. I felt like the offense stepped up. The offensive line got more serious. Like, this is one player, obviously, it's always the biggest position, Matt, but he really does affect everyone down to the last guy on the roster, the guys that are in street clothes, everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard not to find any of the players who could tell you that, it didn't really change their approach to the game. I mean, everybody I talked to for the most part said, yeah, it does. Travis Kelce might have been the lone, next man up guy that just says, hey, somebody gets hurt, you just move on. But even he would admit that, hey, things are different when Patrick's not in there. So, yeah, I mean, defensively, talking to guys on that side of the ball, they felt, an obligation that they needed to step up, that if Patrick is hurting, then, it's going to be up to them now to be able to make some plays. Even when Patrick comes back into the game, they still felt like it was their obligation to make sure he stayed off the field, that, that they were able to get some things done and weren't putting him in a lot of pressure and stress, that they wanted to make sure that he didn't get, into some bad situations and have to extend himself and hurt himself by having to try and lead a fourth quarter comeback or anything. So, yeah, everybody on this team, I mean, there's no doubt. And the players noticed it too, that even the energy, was zapped out of the stadium for a little bit when Mahomes was out of the game. And once he came back out to lead that drive in the second half, it went right back up again and stayed there the rest of the game.
I said this over on RGR. I joined for a little bit over there. That game felt a lot different in the first quarter when Mahomes was healthy. I think that this team looked like they were ready to score 40. I'm just going to throw it out there. That offense looked like it was ready to go. It looked like they were going to be hitting on all cylinders. Travis Kelce was starting to have a monster game. I thought Juju was looking good and was going to have a good game. His first catch was pretty good. And then, later in the game, you watch what Henne does, and congratulations to him, 98 yards coming off the bench. What a flipping drive that was. Noah Gray getting involved on offense as well, running a Travis Kelce-like route. I mean, the entire team really seemed to rally. And one of the things I want to say that I was looking at Twitter right after the game, James Palmer is talking to different Chiefs players, and he said that multiple Chiefs players, including just about everybody on the defense, didn't think Mahomes was coming back in the game after he was injured. So they all thought he was done. And for him to come back in, obviously, in the second half and to do what he does, I mean, that's Mahomes.
Yeah, and and it was interesting. I guess that the word started getting out at halftime in the offensive meeting. The groups, the offense and defense meet separately, and so the offensive guys, the coaches told them, yeah, Patrick's going to come out and start in the second half of the drive. The defensive guys didn't hear that, so they were pretty surprised when they saw Mahomes coming out to start the second half, even though the offensive players did know that was happening. So yeah, even in the teammates in the locker room, I mean, you talk about it was just the quickness of what happens during halftime and the adjustments. Not everybody gets the word, so that's the way it works sometimes.
Adjustments are the name of the game, and having to go to the backup in that situation is sometimes difficult. And I'm going to tell you why. We have this conversation in camp every year, and it's important. On the backside of this, message from our friends at LinkedIn who help you get things done, like finding your backup quarterback in your world. It's easy with LinkedIn Jobs because every small business owner needs it, whether it's me getting graphic designers, Matt looking for that guy that will actually type everything up for him. Oh, wait, that's not exactly it. But LinkedIn Jobs can help you find qualified candidates to help you most efficiently matching your needs to their skill sets. LinkedIn Jobs is quickly able to attract qualified candidates to anything that you're looking to using their tools and their 875 million branded users that are out there that might be looking for work as well. It makes it easy to screen and rate the applicants based on their job qualifications for your platform. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find those qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster and easier. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions do apply, but you can post your job for free. Now, Matt, that was not to disparage you. I'm just trying to point out.
I would just like to point out that if you're looking to build some relationships on LinkedIn, Chad Henne is on LinkedIn. So,
hey, maybe he doesn't have your very own backup.
He doesn't need it for looking for a job right now, but in the off season, post NFL, that's where Chad Henne will be.
I predicted that Chad Henne will find another job in the off season of 2035. That's my thought, because we talk about this every camp. People want to move on from Chad Henne. They want to go with the younger guy who might have a skill set that's more closely matched to Patrick's. But this is why. The guy's been cold since preseason. Hasn't played a snap. Patrick goes down and he has to come in and he just does what he does. He's efficient. He gets the ball out like he's supposed to. That's got to be a shift in the play calling as well. But, Matt, tell me what that does not only for the team, but for Patrick himself to have a guy they know they can count on.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous. Chad kind of downplayed it a little bit in his press conference, but talking to some of the guys in the locker room, I mean, they were just talking about how the importance of his demeanor and coming into the game, because they know that this is the guy. He's 37 years old. They know that when he comes into a game, he brings all of that experience, that he's been a starter, that he has seen all this before. It's not his first rodeo. And, and he's also able to come into the game. And, one of the players said he was cracking some jokes and making everybody get loose a little bit and lightening things up. And that's what he brings. I mean, it is not just that he has got a skill set that can continue to run the offense. I mean, Andy Reid says, they don't have to chop up the offense that much for Chad Henne. I mean, there's probably a few things that they certainly take out of it, but they don't have a drastically different playbook for Chad. In fact, the third down play, the conversion that he throws for the quick hitter, that was just in the 3rd and 2 plays. That was just part of the game plan, whether Mahomes was in there or Chad Henne's in there or Shane Buechele was active and was in there. That's just one of the plays they're going to run. So The fact that he's able to come in and, not lose his head, that he's the guy that can be the calm voice of reason, to calm everybody down, to reassure everyone. And they also know what they're getting. I mean, it's not like a guy who doesn't have an NFL resume and you don't know what they're going to do. They know exactly what Chad Henne's going to do. And that's a valuable trait to have. And the fact that he can be that calm voice in the huddle for that team and to help keep everybody calm and keep them on the same page, that's a big deal.
It's huge. And he had a couple of snaps during the year in garbage time in different games. But, the big thing for me is you sit there and you watch him play. And Andy comes out and he throws the ball the first play when Henne comes in from the 2-yard line. He allows that quarterback to go and get a throw immediately. That shows the faith that he has in Henne, and it worked out for him. Henne took him down 98 yards. Pacheco had a huge run on that drive. Great game by Henne.
Well, it was Pacheco helping him out. It was also, I thought, Matt, the guy that surprised me a little bit in that number 2 in targets was Kadarius Toney. What did those two guys show you tonight in being able to be the crutch when, whether it's Henne or any other reason that this team can rely on?
Yeah, and I don't think there's obviously any doubt. One of the biggest plays of the game was that 40-yard run that Pacheco had that was going absolutely nowhere. I mean, runs into the back of Trey Smith and looked like it's going to go for no loss, and he just kicks it outside and he's gone. I mean, that was a backbreaker. And you look at the final score, and you can easily say that was probably one of the more decisive plays of the game, was just flipping the field on that. I mean, that 98-yard drive, 40 of them come from Pacheco. So, that was a big deal. And Kadarius Toney, good grief, the guy, I have no idea how he escaped some of those situations that he's in. I mean, that play down at the goal line, for instance, he should have been tackled at the 10-yard line. And the next thing you know, he almost gets into the end zone, but, gets all the way down to the 3. I mean, I don't know how he does that. And it's those moments that we've seen this season from Toney, those handful of them, that just makes you think about what's going to happen next year when they got a full offseason with that guy to figure out some things.
Well, and to figure out, and the one thing I'm looking forward to with him in the full offseason, I guarantee you he's going to be working with the training staff. They're going to be working on his body, trying to make sure he can be as healthy as possible going forward. And I think that's going to be huge for him. I love what I saw from Toney, and you talk about Pacheco. I want to talk about McKinnon for a second. Kansas City doesn't win that game if they don't have McKinnon. And I know his stats didn't show it tonight, but his blitz pickups and his ability to protect Patrick and Henne when he's sitting in there as the back in the backfield, it's phenomenal. It is something that is great to watch because if McKinnon is in there, he's going to probably at least slow the guy down considerably, if not stop him cold.
Yeah, and he's also obviously the guy that they trust at the end. Not that they don't trust Pacheco, but let's be realistic. Pacheco has had some ball security problems this year. When the Chiefs are at the end of the game, they're wanting to stretch the clock. They're just looking to pick up some first downs and close out the game. McKinnon's the hammer that they bring in to do that. I mean, he's the closer. That's not Pacheco's role yet. He'll be there one day. When they're more comfortable, with Pacheco's ball security, he will be in that role eventually. But right now, it's McKinnon.
And you got to have that ability. You have to have the support of the running game of everybody there. You also have to have the support of the defense. A lot of guys stepped up on that side as well. Shout out to L'Jarius Sneed. Happy birthday, buddy. We're going to talk about that on the backside of this. A note from one of our oldest sponsors here on the show.
If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want to try all the fat and calories, then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little bit healthier this year. If you're like me, where you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then I've got just the thing for you. You've got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious. You need to try these right now. They're perfect for your New Year's resolutions. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And if you are close to a Walmart, this is a little bit different than it has been in the past. If you're close to Walmart or Sam's Club, Built Bar is now available in Walmart and Sam's Club. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later.
I'll thank you now. And I will thank the defense for stepping up. I thought the really great thing that we saw was really a dichotomy of front and back, to tell you the truth. Yes, all the rookies playing in the defensive backfield stepped up. I thought we saw one of the better games we've seen from Juan Thornhill. We'll probably talk about him in a second. But for me, it was the defensive front, a group that has been kind of Chris Jones and the maybes this season, showed up tonight. Frank Clark was a force. Chris, I thought, was penetrating the backfield, doing a great job in drawing contact. Didn't necessarily get home, but you got plays from Saunders, you got plays from Noddy. George Karlaftis was around. Like, Matt, what's your take on what the defensive front was able to accomplish tonight?
Yeah, I think clearly, especially in the passing game, they did exactly what they were being asked to do. They got pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and that's the known strategy is if you're able to get pressure on Lawrence, you're able to affect him. I mean, he is just not the same quarterback under pressure as he is when he's got a clean pocket. And the Chiefs did a very good job of making sure that he didn't have a clean pocket tonight. Even with only 2 sacks, they had a lot of hits. I mean, they had a lot of hurries. They affected him in other ways than just the sack. So even though they didn't have as many, they had 5 in the last game, just 2 today, they still did a good job of impacting him, flushing him out of the pocket. And that's why, I think that the Jaguars really got nothing going offensively most of the day. Really, the only critique I can have on the front four is that Jacksonville ran the ball effective. And frankly, I think if they had gone to that, and I know that's not, Doug Peterson's from the Andy Reid tree. He's going to throw the football too. But it felt like, especially there in the middle of the game, that the Jaguars were just giving the Chiefs defense wins when they threw the football because they were just playing Lawrence that tough and they weren't giving him any clean pockets. There were some holes on the ground. Etienne and Hasty both had some big chunk plays. At one point, the Jaguars were averaging so close to 7 yards a carry. I would have kept going that way. That was, to me, the only fault of the defensive line was that there were some gaps. But other than that, they played very well. And obviously, the play up front helped lead to the turnovers at the end that the back end was able to make. So you have to give credit to the front end for those plays too.
24 of 39 for 217 from Trevor Lawrence. I thought they were going to come out and try to stop the run. I fully thought that they were going to try to take the running game away. They took the passing game away. 217 yards on 24 passes for Trevor Lawrence in a game like this where they know they're going to have to put up points against Kansas City. That is something. And don't get me wrong, he made a heck of a throw to Christian Kirk that Kirk dropped. That would have been a lot bigger play. But overall, Kansas City's defense played strong throughout the game. And some of the hits that they were able to get on Lawrence that weren't sacks were huge hits. Saunders had a huge hit on him. Noddy's sack obviously was huge just because it's Noddy. But Ryan, I'm sure you enjoyed that one.
I did. It was kind of fun for me. Overall, I think the defense coming together, the linebackers got picked on a little bit early. There was a couple of miscues, a couple of missed assignments. Obviously, there was some confusion when Kirk got into the backfield. He scored on that play. I do think Willie was just starting to figure that out, and he was trying to communicate with Karlaftis. I think a week from now, they'll have that kind of figured out and on lock.
But to be clear on that specific play, and we talked about this over on RGR a little bit, but to be clear on that specific play, if you don't want Spags blitzing, if you want to complain about that play and say that Karlaftis shouldn't be ever guarding the running back, then you don't want him to blitz. It's pick your poison. He's going to get home sometimes. He's going to cause pressure sometimes, and you're going to get beat sometimes. They had a fantastic play design for that specific blitz.
I agree completely. You look at the bulk of this game, and Steve Spags and all those blitzes, they won. They got beat on one play very badly. But the rest of the day, they got wins, and that was a big part of it. That's the interesting thing about this game to me is that there were several almost plays that could have taken this any different way. Like Chris mentioned earlier, the way that Patrick Mahomes came out and the way this offense was rolling at the beginning. Because remember, my concern, and one of the things I talked about this week was that, hey, Patrick has a tendency, especially in his first playoff game, to come out a little hot and a little bit amped up and throwing the football all over the place. And it wasn't that way today. He came in locked in from the very beginning, locked on. I tried to do it right.
You're so close.
Again. So close. See, once again, close plays. But, the Chiefs had, as much as that Christian Kirk had a drop that, for a big play, and the Jaguars came close on a couple of big connections, Chiefs also had a couple of turnovers that got away from him too. They could have easily had 4 turnovers in this game, maybe even 5. So the close plays went a little bit both ways in that regard. But I have to come back to the turnovers because that was a big thing. I mean, to me, going into the playoffs, I said, hey, if we're talking about the Chiefs being a Super Bowl championship team, we're going to be saying that's because they were +7 turnovers by the time the Super Bowl's over. Right now, they're +2 turnovers. They were -3 during the regular season. They're going the right way.
Well, and that's huge because they haven't been – the biggest thing is one, they didn't turn the ball over. Obviously, that's huge. But the bigger part of it is that they're starting to get to plays where they actually force turnovers. And they did it multiple times tonight. And they had multiple plays, like you said, that they could have gotten turnovers. Thornhill could have had an interception. It almost looked like Brian Cook could have had an interception if he would have timed his jump a little bit better. Nick Bolton probably should have had an interception. I mean, there was multiple different plays where they were really close to getting turnovers. And if just one of those other plays comes in, it's a completely different ballgame.
Agreed. And I will say this, kudos to Juan Thornhill. I thought this was the most opportunistic and maybe the best game we've seen from him since he was injured his rookie season. This is what we've been waiting for. If they can get that kind of performance, I thought Reed blitzed well. I thought he was solid in coverage. I think he'd missed a couple of assignments, necessarily anything drastic. Cook's coming on. I know he's got to control his temper. The safety play is rising right now, and I think that's something that can be an X factor in the rest of the playoffs, Matt. Does that ring true for you?
Yeah, it really does. And yeah, you bring up you bring up Cook's temper, and yeah, he plays with a lot of emotions. And so far, it's been the negative quality for him. But I tell you what, I think what you're going to see, especially next year, you're going to start seeing that guy's probably created 6 turnovers with that same aggressiveness. And so I don't want to change that mentality at all. I mean, he's got it, and you're seeing that. I mean, that's why I say that the turnovers are important, because that's something that comes with time. I mean, rookies don't usually start creating turnovers right outside the box. I mean, unless you're a ball hawk crazy corner like Marcus Peters, they don't do that. I mean, it comes with time. And so now you're seeing this secondary start to create turnovers. And that interception by Jalen Watson was a heck of an athletic play.
I was going to say, so what are you saying, Matt? Play. Because people don't one-hand. Rookies don't one-hand turnovers like that.
And even though he had that interception for the touchdown against the Chargers, hadn't seen him get another one. So that's how much comes with time. That comes with time and experience.
How much did you love seeing Bolton telling him to get down right after that, Matt?
Yeah, that was there were some questionable decisions, I thought, today from the coaching staff and the players, and we've seen it before this season. L'Jarius Sneed just about got killed on a play like that. So, yeah, smart Nick Bolton will just tell him to get down. Yeah,
take it easy. Well, folks,
really quick, I just want to say one thing really quick. One thing we haven't talked about. I liked what I saw from Tony, but I also liked his ability to know the game and the situation, because it is a little overlooked. Him getting a first down, staying in bounds, how big that was for running the clock and getting Kansas City to where they were.
Yeah, you heard a lot of voices in the press box as he was running that play. Was just like, stay in bounds. Everybody except the Jaguars wanted that clock to keep running there.
Well, and you like to see it because it's not necessarily his reputation at that point. So that shows a little bit of evolution. I'm sure Brian Dable is regretting some decision making this season, but hey, to the playoffs they go. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And you could easily include him in some of the top performers tonight, but we are going to give out a double dose of game balls. We're going to do a little snake here. We'll give out 2 each, Matt. Where are we starting?
Well, I'm going to take the easiest of the low-hanging fruit with my first selection and make it the guy who should be the MVP of the regular season, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, these weren't Mahomes-ian numbers. At one time, I mean, in the third quarter, I looked up and the Chiefs had like 120 yards passing. I mean, it's like, how are they going to win this game without being able to throw the football? But Mahomes finishes 22 of 30, 195, 2 touchdowns, 112.5 rating. I mean, those are those are good numbers. They may not be Mahomesian numbers. Oh, but then you throw in the fact that he's doing it on one leg, makes it even more impressive. I mean, and that's what this guy is. I mean, the story of this game in the locker room from the Chiefs was just, the toughness of Patrick Mahomes and how valuable of a teammate he is. I mean, there were guys just emphasizing this is the best teammate that they've ever had. And this is a great example of this. And when you got a quarterback and you got the highest guy paid on your team and you got the face of the NFL, that's willing to put himself out there and work on one leg. I mean, and I'll clean up the language from Frank Clark. He's like, how can I be complaining about, my abdomen or complaining about something when this guy's doing that? So yeah, Patrick Mahomes game ball, absolutely deserved.
I love that. I think you hit a lot of great points. I want to say really quick, one of the biggest plays for Mahomes that's going to be overlooked, and to me really showed his grit, was I think it was right on the first series he came back in the third quarter where he runs for a first down. You're sitting there looking at him going, what the hell are you doing? Get down. And he runs for a first down. That is Patrick Mahomes. And I will say this, I am sure you guys probably didn't get to see this. I saw Mahomes and Travis Kelce on the after the game get interviewed. And the thing that really stands out to me is there's another quarterback that got interviewed earlier this week talking about how he thinks he can come back and win another MVP. Mahomes was asked how he's able to do things on the field like he was able to do tonight. And all he said was, it's because of the guys around me. They protected me. They made plays. It's because of this team. And Kelce did the same thing when asked a personal question about himself. He deferred to the team. Those two guys together are phenomenal. And Travis Kelce gets my game ball. I'm just hearing both of those guys talk that way shows you where this team is and how close this team is.
And and to that point, for 2 points quickly. One, Andy Reid felt the same way about the Mahomes scramble because he told us that yes, when he made that scramble, that's when he knew that he was kind of okay. And and Travis Kelce had another one of those answers in the post-game press conference. When he was talked about his records and everything, he's just like, I love playing for Andy Reid. He gives a lot of credit to Andy Reid for everything that he's done.
It's impressive. I mean, and you need those kind of performances, especially when you're working with one leg. The guy that kept you in the game in the meantime, though, is the guy that gets my first game ball, because when the air goes out of the stadium, when Patrick gets hurt, there's only one guy you can turn to, and his name's Chad Henne, and he delivered again. At the end of the day, they don't win this game without Chad Henne. I am convinced that another quarterback, no matter how young, more able, more athletic, doesn't get this done in the playoff situation that this was. So he gets my first one. And since we're snaking, we'll go back and I'll take the next one as well. The guy that fuels the defensive front and got the pressure rolling despite not getting the stats is Chris Jones. Everything flows off of Chris Jones. He moved this entire front unit, and that's why they ended up with that defensive performance. Go ahead, Chris.
I just want to throw one thing back to Travis Kelce because I forgot to mention this. 14 catches, the most ever by a tight end in the NFL history, one short of the NFL record in a postseason game, and 1 yard short of being number 2 in the NFL in postseason yardage. Travis Kelce, we are watching something special with him on the field. My second game ball also is going to be on defense. And quite honestly, you could go a lot of different directions here. But that interception by Jalen Watson, that's where I got to go with my game ball. Showing the ability to go up and just get the ball one-handed and be able to do that. And quite honestly, he had some other big hits throughout this game. He had some other big tackles. I thought he played a good game overall.
And my final game ball, I think, like Chris said, I mean, there's a lot of guys that could have gotten game balls today. I mean, we could probably do this for 6 more picks, a lot of them. But mine's going to go to Isaiah Pacheco, 95 yards rushing. That was very big today. There were some tough yards. You average, hey, you get 39 on one gain, that helps, but averages 7.9 yards a carry. That will play. And that big run, I mean, that one set up the touchdown on the 98-yard drive. That was huge. And so those hard yards that they needed, I mean, and McKinnon contributed well, but the Chiefs, overall ends up with about 140 yards on the ground. That was big on a day when your quarterback is banged up and you just need to extend the game sometimes. You need to extend some drives, and you need to make sure that you're getting into, second and short, third and short situations. Pacheco helped them do that today. And
McKinnon deserves honorable mention because of what we talked about earlier. He ran the ball great late in the game, but his blocking is just something else to watch. I'm sad that his streak ended with no touchdown catch today, but I'm sure he'll probably get another one coming. I have to ask really quick, I know we're out of time. Who do you guys think the Chiefs play? And obviously then that becomes where they play.
Well, for me, I mean, I'll admit, I'm a little selfish because I'd rather not make the trip to Atlanta. So I think I speak on behalf of all beat writers in Kansas City when I say that we'll probably be Bengals fans tomorrow. But
interesting. I'm going to go the opposite and say it's the Bills.
Yeah, and I think it's probably going to be the Bengals. I just think that they're going to be the better team tomorrow, but we'll see. Josh Allen's turned the ball over a lot, and the Bengals are going to have issues on their offensive line, so we'll have to see how that turns out. One thing that somebody just made me remember, I think we need to give a shout-out to Butker, too. He came in and was phenomenal. 2 50-yard kicks, most in Chiefs history in a playoff game, and nothing that was ever even close on extra points either. So, and he saved a touchdown.
Yeah. The tackle's the biggest play he made, isn't it?
That was,
by far.
I'm looking forward to talking to Dave Jobe this week because I do want to know whether that was a conscious decision to let the Jaguars return some kicks, because I think that and today was tough because it was a tough kicking day because it was a wet day. And Tommy Townsend mentioned that the hardest part of it was that there was paint getting on the ball from the wet field and the wet paint, and that was making the ball, even the K ball, a little bit heavier and a little bit slicker. So that was tough. I mean, and watching Butker during pregame, his range was probably about 55 today, and he was maybe about 50-50. So I'm not even sure if they felt that was his range. I thought it was, and frankly, if I was with Jaguars, I think I would have declined the penalty and had the Chiefs kick that 52-yarder, just because I was afraid. I would have been afraid exactly of what happened there, which was the Chiefs picked up 12 yards after the offensive holding call. They got 2 yards back, and Butker made that with ease, so it would have been good probably from 52. But Chiefs did exactly what I thought they would do, which is they made it an easier field goal than they would have had if the Jaguars had accepted that declined the penalty. So
I wouldn't have given Mahomes a chance. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that either.
3rd and 19.
That's the other fear. It's 3rd and 19, and Jerick McKinnon, gets a screen pass for 21 yards, and you're hosed. But Butker, to hit 2 50-yard field goals in a season that has gone the way that it has for him. Like I said, the decisions in the kick return game, let's have some questions about that. And defending was not great, but Butker also had to tackle, so he probably deserves a 7th honorary game ball for that alone.
Did either of you have MVS for the winning touchdown? Just
negative.
Wondering.
He would have been lower on my list, but that was a very well designed and executed play.
You got to take it where you can get it. Whoever scores. Get it on. Folks, we're going to be back all week long, dig through this game, and get prepared for whoever we find out tomorrow will be the Chiefs' opponent and where. Matt will be making travel arrangements. If I'm right, we'll see what happens. A lot coming for you. Thanks for being with us, Matt. Thanks for staying late at the stadium and cluing us in on everything.
Absolutely, guys. Take care, everybody.
You all have a great one. We'll talk to you tomorrow.